Hello, Dr. Brant Hulsebus here, and welcome to another edition of Ask the Chiropractor. Ask the Chiropractor is my little podcast that I do. When someone has a question about chiropractic or chiropractic care, I try to answer. I'm a chiropractor here in Rockford, Illinois. I'm a proud graduate of Palmer College of Chiropractic, and I'm happy to be the team chiropractor of the Rockford Ice Hogs. Let's dive into it. Hello, and welcome to episode 6 of a 12-episode series that we're working on. And I'm excited to have you. Last time we talked a lot about people who have a desk job or people who sit too much. And I said there's one population that really can't afford to do that, and that's when someone's pregnant. So if you're pregnant and you're considering going to see a chiropractor, or you're considering becoming pregnant, and why should I go see a chiropractor if this is something I want to do? I got to tell you, there's a lot of cool stuff we do with pregnant women. I had a lot of advanced education in this, and this is something that's very important to me because if it wasn't for chiropractors helping with fertility and pregnancy, you wouldn't be watching this podcast right now, because my grandmother was unable to conceive. She couldn't have children, and Grandpa wanted to get her help, and he drove her to this crazy school in Davenport, Iowa called Palmer College of Chiropractic. Dr. B.J. Palmer himself came out, met my grandma and my grandpa, and he thought he could help my grandma. And after you knew it, Grandma became pregnant, and the rest was history. Grandpa signed up for school, and here we are, third generation chiropractor. So whenever they talked about pregnancy in school, I got excited, right? Because this is like I don't have a chiropractic story, meaning that I didn't have something awesome in my life, and a chiropractor jumped in and saved me. They made me want to be a chiropractor. I just grew up, but dad's a chiropractor, all my uncles are chiropractors. You just become a chiropractor. So I became a chiropractor. But those talks are interesting to me because that was my family story. So when you go through chiropractic college, we get classes on taking care of pregnant women. It's definitely part of our curriculum. And you get a little better education if you get to take care of somebody who is pregnant while you're there. And I had that. My sister-in-law was pregnant while I was there. So I got to take care of her while she was pregnant. And then you get a little bit more education after you graduate. There's some advanced classes and courses you can take in taking care of pregnant women too. And I had a bad incident about 5 years, maybe 10 years into practice, where I tore all the muscles out of my elbow in an injury, and I had to have a plate put on my elbow and have my elbow redone. And during that time, I couldn't work. So my surgeon said, go back to school. You can't work. Go make yourself a better chiropractor. And that was some of the best advice I was ever given. So I took courses on what they call the Webster Technique, like the Webster Dictionary. So the Webster Technique is a chiropractic technique that we do originally for correcting a breech baby. Now, breech babies, that means they're coming feet first, not head first. The baby's upside down in mom. And this is a really cool chiropractic technique that I'm trained on, certified in. And it's not what you might think it is if you watch too many TikTok videos. We don't actually move the baby around. No, the womb's there, and the womb's designed to grow a beautiful baby and have the baby do its thing. The problem is a lot of times ligaments and tendons and subluxations get in the way. So what we do is we adjust mom's tailbone for a sacrum subluxation. If you don't know the word subluxation, one or two bones in your spine are misaligned, and that's creating stress. And that stress is hitting the nerves around that joint, causing what you call lower back pain. But to us, it's a bigger thing than that, because those nerves leave that area and travel to different body parts. And if the womb is under stress, it tightens up and it doesn't relax, and therefore the baby can't flip. So we adjust mom's tailbone. And then there's a muscle on the backside called the piriformis. When you have a pelvic misalignment or subluxation, the piriformis muscle can be upset. So we do some work on the piriformis muscle, and that's followed up by ligament work, a trigger point of ligament in the backside. Then we flip mom over and we look at her hip flexor muscles, and we try to get those to calm down. And we finish with one more trigger point on the round ligament of the uterus, because that's the only ligament to have muscle in it. So if it has muscle in it, you can do a trigger point and help it relax. And if you get all that pressure off the womb area, the womb relax, baby will flip, happy baby. That's what we do. Now, it was a really popular move when we found out you had a breech baby. Like, some chiropractors were sitting around. In chiropractic, we talk a lot about prevention. So the question was, why do we wait until you breech to do this? Why do you have to get bad and then get better? We talk about prevention. So now what we do is we start this Webster technique the moment you know you're pregnant. The very moment you find out you're pregnant, we start doing it. Because why have a breech baby? Why not just take care of it? Now, babies, they're naturally in a breech position to a certain time period, then they flip naturally. So if we adjust you the whole time you're pregnant, the babies don't get breached. So before we started doing it for prevention, I was 20 for 21 adjusting moms getting the breech babies a turn. Now, since we do it in the moment we find out you're pregnant, we haven't had a breech baby in this office since we've been doing that. Now, maybe it's all because of the adjustment, maybe because of the water in our city that people drink in Rockford that helps prevent. I don't know, but I just really think it's cool that all the moms that come here and get adjusted don't have breech babies. They're able to have a more natural birthing process, which is better for mom and, of course, the baby. So that's really cool to me. I like that. I dig it. There's a great reason to come here when you're pregnant. Is chiropractic safe when you're pregnant? I hope you understand that it is. I think that's a silly question. Of course it's safe to come in and get adjusted when you're pregnant. Matter of fact, you don't want to do a bunch of medications and take a bunch of narcotics when you're pregnant because you're pregnant. So what then leave? Natural health care. Who's been doing natural health care since September 18th, 1895? Your chiropractor has. We've been doing it all along. So when you're pregnant, your body undergoes some changes. Some changes we talk about, some changes people don't talk about. One is your pelvis is going to change, right? Because you're pregnant. You got a big baby in front of you. So we can adjust your lower back throughout the pregnancy. So that way it stays healthy in alignment the whole time, not only to give a good nerve supply to your baby, but also just good biomechanics for you. You don't want you to suffer through your pregnancy. We want you to enjoy your pregnancy. Another really common thing to happen when you're pregnant is your rib cage will actually change shape. It's going to come up and expand out to make room for the baby. And there's a thing called pregnancy carpal tunnel. What happens is all that happens and it jams right where the neck and the thoracic spine come together. I talked a lot about this last week. If you're getting adjusted regularly in that area, we can keep that area loose and keep that pregnancy carpal tunnel from affecting you. So you don't have to have that arm and numbness going down your arms. It's easy for us to adjust and take care of you for that and keep it happy. Now, you can find all kinds of research papers that show that women have more healthier babies, quicker deliveries, and everything when they're under chiropractic care. I'll be honest with you, I don't know how they know that. If it's my first ever pregnancy, I got adjusted the whole time. How do you know this was faster than if I had it? I have no idea. But when you do surveys of women who are pregnant, they enjoy getting adjusted. They're going to see the chiropractor. They enjoy having another healthcare provider to ask questions to as they're working with their OB/GYN along the way. Now, I know some chiropractors actually became doulas, where they're actually there to help assist the birthing process. I think that's pretty cool. My first ever intern I had here, that's what she does. She's actually there helping with the birthing process with the extra education. I don't do that. I don't have that degree. But it's cool to know that chiropractors are that involved in the natural birthing processes. So if you've had some lower back pain, you've had some pregnancy carpal tunnel, or you had a friend who had all that and you just found out you're pregnant and you don't want to have all that, I highly recommend coming to see the chiropractor. Now, the tricky part about if you're a new patient in the clinic and you're pregnant, we're not going to x-ray you. You hear a lot of times we take your x-rays of your spine so we can do a really good job. And that's what I do mean that. I do like doing that. But obviously, I'm not going to radiate the newborn baby before the baby's here. We would never do that ever unless it was something really weird, but we would still cover the baby with lead before we would do that, the area with lead. But if you're thinking about becoming pregnant and you're not pregnant now, man, that's a great time to come in. Because I have a pregnant woman on my table. I said, I got to suspect this is what your back's doing. I don't have an x-ray of you, so I can't say with great certainty this is what you're doing, but my educated mind thinks this is what you're doing. With the x-ray, I have a much more things to base my diagnosis and how I'm going to take care of you off of. So if you're thinking about getting pregnant and you're not pregnant yet, coming in and starting care and getting your x-rays taken is a huge advantage throughout your entire pregnancy. Now, after the baby's born, we can definitely take your x-rays and take a look at you then. But yeah, so I'm a huge fan of women coming and getting pregnant. I got a lot of women that have been coming here. My oldest is 20 years old right now, my oldest daughter. And since my wife was pregnant with her, I've always had at least 5 or 6 pregnant patients. It's funny, like somebody gives birth, somebody else comes in and tells me they're pregnant. But we've done amazing things with pregnant women, keeping them happy and letting them enjoy their pregnancy. That's the biggest thing. This should be a time for happiness, not suffering and pain. Don't live with that. And don't ask your OB/GYN, your midwife, or anybody else if you should see a chiropractor during this time, because they're not trained to answer that question. Only a chiropractor is trained to answer that question. And if you're nervous about seeing somebody, about maybe they take care of pregnant women, maybe they don't, look on the website, look for that Webster Technique. If they got certified in the Webster Technique like I am, then you know they've studied pregnancy. Let's say how to take care of pregnant women. Again, we all get a sample of that at chiropractic school. But if you want someone to do a deeper dive, that's a great way to look. Or just call the chiropractor and ask them. Or ask the staff. Just call the staff and say, does the doctor take care of a lot of pregnant women? The staff say, what, pregnant women? They call a different clinic. So you get the one that says, oh, we have lots of pregnant women that come in here. So there you have it. If you're pregnant, you're going to become pregnant, going to the chiropractor, great idea. Second thing, do you know after the baby's born that we go to the hospital sometimes and see the babies? Did a lot of that more before COVID than we do after COVID, right? Because the world changed. But a lot of people on their way home will actually stop here on their way home and have us check their babies after they're born. And again, there's classes on that we took here too to know how to do that. So we take care of them since the moment they're born all the way up until the moment they're done. So once that baby's born, you want to keep going to that chiropractor. You know what? Why don't you come back next week, episode 7, and we'll talk about taking care of pediatrics and newborn babies and little kids and kind of how we do the chiropractic adjustment. Very different for a newborn than I do one of my hockey players. All right, if you're in Rockford and you're pregnant, come on in. I'll be happy to have a conversation with you, talk to you more about it. Otherwise, look for a chiropractor like I described. And if you have a question about chiropractic or chiropractic care, ask a chiropractor. Thanks for tuning in.